Wargaming may just be finally getting the memo that we've all been talking about for the last 7 to 8 years on World of Tanks console, and if you play World of Tanks PC, probably 10 years since the release. And of course, we are talking about all of the variety of balancing factors, which we've got a couple to talk about. We've got a new premium tank. We've also got a couple of the sales and the operations and the way that World of Tanks console at its current trajectory is kind of moving towards. And hopefully you can leave your opinions as to how you think the game is actually faring in the comment section down below. But let's get into the update news, which of course starts with this new premium tank, and that is the Charlemagne. So, what is the Charlemagne? It is essentially a tier 8 heavy tank. It's a premium, of course, for everyone to basically purchase, and it will cost you. Should you actually wish to purchase the Charlemagne, you'll be paying 14,900 gold for the top package as of the release, and that is of course when we're recording. And we also have the fully loaded bundle, which is the one I would go for if you want it on release, which costs 11,915 gold, 100% the one that you will go with. Or alternatively, just wait until it is just the base version on February 8th, so you have to wait 2 weeks to be able to purchase it for 10,190 gold. Obviously, that's kind of the baseline values of the tank itself. Hopefully you can make your mind up as to whether you want to purchase this, but before you make that mind up, remember tomorrow's video we'll be looking at the Charlemagne in full in a tank review, so keep your eyes peeled, but we'll give the base kind of rundown of the tank itself. I've played it a couple times so far, not yet got an amazing gameplay to showcase, but essentially it is a very well balanced tank, at least in my opinion, as to whether I think that Wargaming really did get it right. And I think that with this premium tank, for the first time in a long time, I think they actually did. And of course it is a World War II premium tank that you will be able to purchase within the game. It has 1500 hit points, which is a fairly mediocre amount of hit points for a heavy tank. You have a pretty poor power to weight ratio and a pretty annoying top speed limit of 35 kilometers an hour. Armor model works pretty okay. 10 degrees of gun depression kind of hints that Wargaming want you to use the turret of the tank, and that is exactly what this tank is designed for. If you can go hold down on a ridge line where you're hiding this big lower plate, this thing is actually really competitive. However, the limitations in the fact that it does struggle in those games where you can't really push towards more damage, and the fact that you have pretty weak hull traverse and turret traverse mean that, yeah, it's a little bit inflexible, and it means that you can't push out that damage when you want it. And of course, you have 0.44 accuracy, 440 alpha, 3.5 second aim time, making the gun handling awful. And that is with all of the buffs that console has with World of Tanks and the equipment that is all featured around the game. Yeah, even with the console version of the equipment that are pretty overpowered, the accuracy is awful and the aim time is even worse. And yeah, 3.59 rounds a minute mean that you're you're going to struggle to push out a lot of DPM as well. So the tank itself, on the rundown, is not particularly amazing, but there are good points about it, and you can see that in tomorrow's video where we cover gameplay, how you can play it, how you can take it out really effectively, and hopefully you'll be interested in that tomorrow. Of course, not only do we have the new premium tank, we've got a couple of challenges, we have bundles coming out, we've got a new premium commander, which is of course Travis Sparky Nelson, that you can pick up. Will cost you 2,000 gold, I believe it is, if you want to purchase him. Gives you 15% more commander XP, you know, it's there if you want it. Just another microtransaction from Wargaming there. And then of course you have the challenges and events for the Paladin Challenge Week 4. If you haven't already, you want to make sure that you're completing 3 of 4 weeks to be able to get your hands on a free tier 8 premium heavy tank from the British line, the other British heavy tank. And this is a really good one. Very consistent, I would say, not necessarily the hardest hitter premium tank for having those amazing games, but it certainly is very consistent. You can see a video on that tank and how you can play this free tank within the game a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, that video came out. Of course, not only that, we also have the operation for, well, +1, -1, essentially, where you'll be able to come up against +1 and -1. No brain box kind of needed there. But essentially, this weekend, you'll be able to play, +1, -1 matchmaking, which makes playing any tech tree tank within World War II really, really good. I think Wargaming are getting the matchmaking weekends really well. I think that they're bringing in those quite good. And overall, it's kind of looking positive. We've got an increase in player numbers. Hopefully Wargaming can retain those, because obviously during Christmas they get boosted up. It's not because loads of people have suddenly found the game and it's so amazing. It's just because people have more time, and that's what's boosting the player base numbers. If you've been noticing, at peak times it's about 20,000 I've seen recently playing the game, which is always really, really good. Of course, then you have the special sales, January tank of the month, the broken T-34-88, which is a good one, and for $10 or like £7, the other rewards you get, 850 gold, it's a no-brainer if you haven't already got it and you're interested in tier 6 premium tank. Otherwise, just ignore it. It's just one of those. Of course, then we have the free XP bonus, which will be basically where you can get 1 gold will grant you 35 free XP. Yet again, another Wargaming microtransaction. Seems like we will never get rid of those, even if they do some good development kind of changes. Of course, that is basically 50% more free XP when you convert, well, just less than that, but yeah, not so bad. Then we have the weekly sales, where you're going to be able to pick up some bundles, and this is another point of the video which I want to kind of take and get your opinion on, because from my point of view, although we're getting a lot worse sales in terms of the tanks that we're receiving, the discount that we're receiving, it kind of means that people aren't just able to purchase their way to tier 8 as much, or at least purchase their way to broken tier 8s all of the time, which the previous bundles were basically doing. And yeah, a lot of people were picking up, 3 tier 8s, and for a new player, when they spend, I don't know, however much it would be, like £30, and they get 3 tier 8s, they tend to just play those premium tier 8 vehicles, and they're not really learning very much. So I think by actually introducing pretty lame bundles, it actually makes it a little bit less bad for the newer players, and also anyone playing around tier 8, because there's nothing worse than when you're coming in and you're tier 6 and all you're coming up against is tier 8 premiums that everyone's buying, because why would you not purchase them when they're 50% savings and in a bundle with the Iron Rain, the SU-130 PM, and some of the other broken premiums like the Scorpion G, etc. When they're coming up on sale, it does kind of annoy the matchmaker in terms of a lot of people are playing tier 8 premiums, which makes it a hell of a lot worse for anyone else playing in that region, especially people playing tiers below. Obviously, the +1 -1 event will make that a little bit less difficult, and these bundles certainly help with that. However, I don't really agree with the fact that Wargaming are just bundling in terrible tier 3 and tier 5 tanks. Like, anything tier 5 and below shouldn't really be bundled in with tier 8 tanks, because I just feel like what they do is they just put in this random tier 4 tank that you're never going to play, which costs, if you actually bought it for full price, like 2,000 gold or 3,000 gold or however much it is, and then it basically increases the total value of the bundle, and then they can say, it's 40% savings, when realistically you would never have bought the Toldi 3 light tank, for example, in the Swedish style, and therefore you're paying a lot more. Now, regardless of what Wargaming shady sales tactics are, at least with the bundles, we'll take a look at them. Obviously, the Thunderbolt and the Super Chaffee, two pretty okay tier 6s, nothing amazing. 4,250 gold. Would I purchase it? Probably not. I'd just avoid it and purchase a tier 8 premium. They're not really anything novel. You can play the Chaffee at tier 6 anyway, and you can play the M4 E8 at the same sort of tier anyway, so they're very similar tanks to the tech tree tanks. When it comes to the Swedish style, you're getting the Swedish tier 8 tank destroyer, the Stark STRVS1. I mean, if you're interested in that kind of playstyle, maybe you want another one to 3 mark or whatever you're doing, 8,100 gold. Is it worth it? Not in my opinion. This one always comes up in sale as part of bigger bundles when they do like a bigger discount that you'll be able to purchase and save you a lot more gold as well. Then we have Eastern Swiftness, WZ-120, 1GFT, the tank destroyer, a fairly okay tank. It's actually not a bad one. If you ever played the Su-122-44, which is the Soviet Tier 7 tank destroyer, this one is kind of like the Chinese version of that tank, where you can deal lots of damage really, really quickly, have a really good DPM, but actually dishing out quite a bit of damage per shot, because you'll be doing 390, I believe, off the top of my head. And then it's bundled with the Type 64 light tank, which is actually a really, really nice Tier 6 light tank. Not super overpowered, not really underpowered, but it's definitely, if you're a light tank enthusiast, something that you might want to consider. 8,650 gold. So yeah, it's quite expensive, but there we go. That's what the bundle pricing seems to be like at the minute. Talking about minutes, we have the Minuteman, and that's the T29 heavy tank, and this is a tank I featured in a video recently titled Wargaming's Golden Boy, and when Wargaming went just absolutely nuts with the mercenary tanks and decided that getting a T29, slapping a load of spaced armour all over it, and then, yeah, just throwing it out there seemed like a good idea. And of course, it was a good idea for anyone that purchased it, because it's a T29 that's been souped up, and yeah, 50% discount. I think if you don't already have the Minuteman, this tank is almost a must. It will cost you 3,400 gold for a Tier 7 premium heavy tank that is just amazing. Really, really good fun, and certainly one I would wish everyone had in their garage. You don't have to go out and purchase bundles, but yeah, it's an interesting one, and certainly for any of you heavy tank American tank line players, then yeah, you'll love this tank. It really is amazing, and probably a little bit too overpowered for Tier 7. Yeah, check out the video if you want to see that. Obviously, then we have the American Tier 8, which is the T95E2 medium tank. This is a tank I would, in all honesty, basically avoid it. It's not particularly amazing. This sort of tank, you know, I just don't think it's got enough. When you can literally play the Tier 1 LPC, which is a very, very similar tank, where it has the double shot autoloader, it just offers a hell of a lot more, and I just don't think that this is really worth it. It's like trying to basically bring down an M48 pattern down into Tier 8, and it just doesn't quite work very well. It's kind of like the FV4202 premium version at Tier 8. They just don't quite work when that happens. But of course, it's up to you. Do you like your American mediums? Maybe you will like this tank, and I'm sure there's plenty of you that do like this sort of tank. Certainly not awful, but it's probably not a competitive premium Tier 8 tank within the game. But of course, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of all of these, and do you think Wargaming are kind of doing a better job with the bundles that they're releasing, so that people don't just go out and buy Tier 8 overpowered premiums all of the time? You can still do that in the premium tech tree though, but it will just cost you more money. But yeah, I think not promoting as many overpowered bundles is probably a good idea, even though, you know, from a standpoint of someone that wants to purchase overpowered premium tanks, not so good. But yeah, from a gameplay standpoint, it's much better. Obviously, then we have the available contracts. You can get the Chisel, the Tusk, and the Machine. They're all obviously available for a long time, so you've got plenty of time to be able to complete this. I'm probably about halfway through the Chisel op, because I'm on stage 7, and you know, exponential growth in XP required and everything like that. But yeah, we're nearly there, we're getting there, and so there'll be a very big video on the Chisel once we manage to complete that, and then hopping straight onto the Machine as soon as possible, so we can test out that little horrific tank. I haven't actually got it within the game, and hopefully we can test that out. Obviously, we have the overview, which is the British invasion season. It ends on the 8th of February. I would be expecting some big changes coming in the week following that. So on the 13th of February, we'll probably be seeing some big changes coming into the game with the next big update, new season, etc. within World of Tanks. So definitely keep an eye out for that in the week between the 8th of February, when the season ends and the new season begins. That's usually when we get a new premium tank that you can earn during that week, and that will probably be something, I don't know, like the Defender or something like that. I don't know, that's not confirmed. That's just me giving you a random Tier 8 premium tank that you might be able to earn. If it's right, I called it here first, but there we go. We'll usually get a pre-premium tier 8 vehicle between the 8th and the 2nd, and when the next season then comes out. I'm just assuming that it will maintain the same sort of structure as previously. Obviously then we had the tanks reforged, which you can check out in the previous update news on the French heavies, and there'll be a video coming out very, very soon on the worst tank within World of Tanks, which is of course the tier 8 AMX 65T. Oh god, that's a horrific tank. Yeah, let's move on swiftly from that, and I'm sure you'll see exactly what I mean very soon. Daily play, obviously you can earn some premium, you can earn confidential key cards, and a load of different other stuff. You can see the rewards here. Obviously just log in and place among the top 10 XP earners on your team in a battle, not a winning one. And then we have the Mastery of the Hunt, which is basically where you can get a load of silver if you manage to complete a set of objectives that we've covered before. And then we had the T95E1 or the FV4201 in the game, which I believe may be getting buffs. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But before we close out this video, let's take a look at some of the information that Wargaming gave us regarding the premium tanks. Of course, when this video is live, the FV214 Conqueror Mark II has been buffed, so you can get your hands on that. It's basically got more hit points, better dispersion, better top speed, making it a little bit more competitive to some of the other tier 8, the heavy tanks even within Era 2, and then we've got more ammo, better reload. So yeah, overall just a much better tank. And then of course we have some other bundles which we've talked about, the deals of the week and personal offers there. So as a closing statement, do you think that Wargaming have been improving the game and the game is looking in a good, positive direction? Or are you still very, very disappointed? Are you a player that's never played since Update 6.0? Let me know in the comment section down below. And I hope you'll join me in the next video where we look at the Charlemagne and how it actually stacks up in the game. Yeah, let's have a look at that tomorrow. Hope to join you there, and I hope you'll see me in the videos following. Goodbye.